We dedicate our efforts to a vision of the springtime of humanity, where all humanity makes a leap in consciousness and realizes the unity and divinity of all life, where we cherish our Mother Earth as our own dear mother and share with each other as brothers and sisters. Hari Om Tat Sat. Let's together do the invocation of the universal life. I am that without boundaries, limitation, or separation. I am a universal life of, of indescribable energy and unlimited consciousness. The stars and the planets are the cells of my body. I am filled with indescribable energy and unlimited consciousness. I am willing energy, that I am. Mahavishnu, the great spirit. Narayana, the soul of the universe. Saraswati, goddess of manifest radiant health, perfect health, divine health, to manifest deep inner peace, equanimity, serenity, to manifest self-realization, illumination, liberation, may peace and justice prevail on earth. Just acknowledging the universality of our being. In our first screen, the energy medicine screen, we invoked the goddess Saraswati in the music, and Lord Shiva's son Ganesha, the elephant-headed god. Typically, we begin with the invocation of Lord Ganesha, and Ganesha means the Lord Isha, Lord of Gana, the nature spirits. That by invoking Lord Ganesha, we invoke the elementals, the spirits of the all, in our cosmology, everything has agency, everything is alive, everything is a manifestation of divine intelligence, and on some level has agency, on some level is one of the, has power and agency. So we honor the spirits of the earth, or we begin by honoring the spirits of the earth around us, by honoring Ganesha, the spirits of the earth herself, Mother Earth, the spirits of the plants and the flowers and the forces of geomancy, the forces of the air and the fire, water, just all the living beings around us. We take a moment to acknowledge the life of nature, not as an abstract principle, but nature is filled with other agents beside ourself that have intelligence and will and power. So Lord Ganesha is Lord of the Ganas, Lord of the elementals, the elemental intelligences that imbibe in every dimension of this creation, the fairies, the gnomes, the goblins, the spirits that inhere in hills and mountains and rocks and rivers and forests that are subtle and yet affect us. So we acknowledge them in that way. This morning in mantra yoga, I wanted to go into the work of Edwin Babbitt again. I probably emphasized that Babbitt's atom is recognized by some of us as the key to the secret teaching of all ages. Manly Hall, who was considered the father of 20th century esoteric studies as the dean of the Philosophical Research Society in Los Angeles, a library of esoteric teaching and a center for esoteric teachers. In his great work, his magnum opus, The Secret Teaching of All Ages, he begins this this encyclopedia of esoteric and Rosicrucian teachings. He begins this with this image of Babbitt's atom on the very first page of The Secret Teaching of All Ages. In the very center of the very first page of The Secret Teaching of All Ages, he puts this image of Babbitt's atom, and he describes Babbitt as a genius. Thus, in my mind, Hall is pointing us to Babbitt's atom and to our contemplation of Babbitt's atom as the key to the secret teaching of all ages. So I can't really emphasize that enough because it's been really central to my understanding. And Dr. Stone points us towards Babbitt's atom as well. Now, Dr. Babbitt is said to have had micro-clairvoyant powers, that at some point in his life he was guided to go into a dark space, a lightless space, for a few days. And in that space, he was able to go within and bring out his micro-clairvoyant gifts, his ability to project his awareness into the atomic level. Now, we cannot even begin to comprehend how tiny an atom is. And it's an amazing, amazing thing that the human mind and the human intention has the ability to perceive these dimensions of creation is just wonderful. And just again, a comment on the gift that we are and the depth of that our intelligence can perceive with that intention. And indeed, at the turn of the 20th century, we have whole schools of clairvoyance, people gifted with the gift of clairvoyance, doing micro clairvoyant research, and published in a tome called Lucifer, was a magazine which reported their experiments in micro clairvoyance. So the whole group would set an intention to go into some dimension of consciousness and would communicate with each other in this subtle dimension. And in a book called Occult Chemistry, led by a Leadbeater, they published the results of their exploration of the atomic realm. And there's a book written in 1960 called ESP, Extrasensory Perception and the Quark, ESP and the Quark, which examines their microclairvoyant research in view of the science of a half century later, and shows that they indeed saw things that were only discovered decades later by conventional science. Please understand that when we take an image like Babbitt's atom, this is a finger pointing to the moon. It's not the moon itself, that this is a heuristic device. It's a learning device. So we're taking this atom to try, this image of the atom, to try to illustrate a point and to try to, for us to try to comprehend the subtle realm. So here we're looking at this atom as an energy field, and an energy field much like that described in polarity, where we have a core and surrounding that core. Now, Babbitt emphasized the term spirals, that there are spirals within spirally, tinier spirals, and that everything was spiraling. Everything was spirally. Nothing was linear. Everything was spiraling. So every line here in this drawing is attempting to capture the word in Latin, the word for our word spiral, and our word breath come from the same root, spiritus. So every uh, line of this drawing is a manifestation of spiritus, is a dimension of the spiraling breath, spiraling life breath of a living universe. And the point I'm trying to make, the overall point that I'd like to make is again, this atom is a field of neutral, positive, and negative. That whenever we're talking about energy, we're always talking about a living movement from the source out into the field and then returning to the source in a process of life-giving creation, life-giving homeostasis, the cybernetic process of self-correction. So life energy is always a field moving through neutral, positive, and negative source, field, and then returning to the source. So the rhythms of the breath are always the foundation of life, and the polarity of the rhythms of the breath are always at the foundation of life. And the larger point that I'm trying to make today is that the field is an emanation of the source and is constantly sustained through this cybernetic dynamic with the source. That in every nanosecond, the smallest possible comprehension, every that we can have of time, the field is dancing with the source. The field is in this cybernetic relationship to the source. Which is embodied in the parasympathetic nervous system, which connects the periphery, which connects the field with the source on every level of microcosm and macrocosm. So ultimately, what I'm trying to say here is that every atom of your body is a well to being. Every atom of your body is a well to being. And that when the field is coherent, it potentizes the field and we can draw from the infinite powers of being. So the goal of this work is always to seek more harmony, more coherence on an atomic and molecular and cellular levels, which potentizes every atom, every molecule, every cell of the body to be able to, through that coherence, manifest the potential of that field. Now, interestingly, the sage Dr. Stone tells us we are ill because we are never still, that the fundamental medicine is stillness. Whenever you're not well, the doctor sends you home to get some rest. That our fundamental medicine is stillness, that stillness is the healer. I was once doing an internship with a medical doctor, and every single person that came in that door to see this medical doctor was too busy to be sick and didn't have the time to be sick and was rushing around and was looking for some way to continue to rush. They didn't have the time for stillness. They didn't have the time for the original medicine, and they were looking for a magic pill. So Dr. Stone, his sage wisdom is we are ill because we are never still. The stillness is the original medicine. Get some rest. So we're focusing on Babbitt's atom, and maybe we want to look at the molecular realm here. Let's see, how are we doing for time here this morning? Let's look at some of these images here for a moment. So here is how atoms link up. I hope this works. Here's how atoms link up from the feminine. The masculine plugs into the feminine. The masculine plugs into the feminine, and they align. And then in the next, now you see this in batteries, the way, or you see this in magnets, so that you can only align a magnet from negative to positive, from feminine to masculine. If you try to put two masculine poles of a magnet together, they repel each other, while the masculine and feminine, the positive and negative, just create a vortex and suck each other into each other. So that's what we saw in the first line. And then there's a polarity between each field and the field next to it, which again, it has to move in the opposite, so that there's a polarity on each side of that field. And then a polarity next to that, and a polarity next to that. Maybe we'll go back and run this again if we can. Okay. When I escape from too much there again, let's go back to the share and go back to the desktop. Okay, we're sharing that. And let's see if we can play that again. So here we're seeing an atom and seeing the way they line with the between the positive and negative fields plugging into each other to create a line of force. And here we're looking at, these are just attempts to illustrate these dynamics of how the fields align themselves. Perhaps here's some, next we're going to look at some of the original images from Babbitt's principles of light and color. So here we are looking at the difference. So here's our atoms joined, the negative and positive joining, which we just saw in that alignment. And then we also are, and you're seeing the way that the energy just dances through them, through the polarization of, but it also moves from side to side and moves at these different angles, so that you see here an alignment. So here we see these are in, these are polarized. To the right is the masculine, to the left is the feminine, and on the lower one, to the left is the masculine, to the right is the feminine, and that creates a movement, a polarity, uh, dancing between the two. So, so ultimately, what we have are movements going in every possible direction in the dance of polarity, as the energy breathes and spirals through these fields, creating something energetic, and yet with a tremendous solidity to it on the molecular level. So again, these are fingers pointing to the moon. These are meant for you to contemplate as we contemplate energy and our understanding of energy and the dynamics of polarity, which underlie every dimension of energy. Any questions about Babbitt's atom and our basic principle that we're talking about here is potentizing the field through stillness, the importance of harmony, the importance of coherence, and how the more coherent the field, the more it can actualize the potential. We call that potentizing, uh, which is to actualize the potential of the field by creating more and more coherence on the field and aligning. Ultimately, it's aligning all these dimensions of the quark, of the atomic, of the molecular, of the cellular um, fields of energy. Now, in homeopathy, this is done by um, uh, potentization. Like if you buy a 10x remedy, they shake it 10 times. They shake it up and they take one dropper of that and put it in a substance and shake it up and take one drop of that and put it in a substance, do that 10 times. And that's a 10x potency that each dimension is more subtle and more coherent. So we're talking about Babbitt's atom and our understanding of energy, and most important, the understanding of coherence. So you can see this image in occult chemistry and in occult chemistry and in the principles of light and color. Now, I want to warn you, if you there are reprints of the principles of light and color around, but don't get a reprint edited by Fabian, because he didn't understand the more esoteric elements of the work and edited out the really significant elements of Babbitt's teaching. So if you do get a copy of the principles of light and color, do not get one edited by Fabian, and that's the most common edition used in color therapy and by those interested in color therapy, but it's not the most faithful to the original. Last week, our mantra was an invocation of the goddess Saraswati, essence of self, and the Bija mantras Om, Aim, Shreem, Hreem, Saraswati Devi Namaha. And this week we go on to another mantra. The mantra we're learning today is the lead us from the unreal to the real, from the shadows to the light, from death to immortality. Uh-oh, I get in there. No, I guess not. Maybe. Nice, I could. Okay. Lead us from the unreal to the real. In the Sanatana Dharma, the way of life offered to us in ancient India, for something to be considered real, it has to be not caused by anything else, and it has to be unchanging. So epistemology is the scientific term for how we can know anything. And in the epistemology of the ancient Bharats, the ancient sages of India, for something to be considered real, it had to be unchanging. So none of your thoughts are real because they're very mercurial and changing. And none of your experiences are real because they're very mercurial and changing. And indeed, your body isn't real because it's always changing. Nature isn't considered real because it's always changing. Indeed, in the cosmology of ancient India in the cosmology of the Sanatana Dharma, the only thing that's considered real is the present, is this cognizance, is this intelligence which underlies creation, that which is unborn, undying, everywhere, always, eternal, forever and ever. This all-pervasive awareness. Now, we've been saying that the universe is a living organism, that there's one awareness that underlies everything, one cognizance, one presence, that the definitive characteristic of life is this cognizance, is this presence. That life is defined by its ability to create itself. Life is defined by its ability to uh, to generate and sustain itself, and to constantly recreate itself. And this capacity to create itself, which is the definitive characteristic of every atom, every molecule, every cell, as it maintains its homeostasis, is cognizant. It's aware of itself as a field of life force, and it's constantly self-correcting to maintain the integrity of itself as an atom, as a molecule, as a cell, as a field of tissue, as a living process in an organism, and as an organism in the world. That we're constantly we have the cognizance, the lucidity, the intelligence, the presence to self-correct on all of these dimensions, and to create and sustain and generate and recreate the conditions that uphold and expand our life. So while everything around us is changing, like from your first breath to your last breath, everything in your life is changing. There's one thing which does not change, and that is you. The cognizance that's witnessing your life, the cognizance that's present in your life, and the cognizance that's at every moment, from quark to the macrocosm of your body, witnessing your life, and making these decisions that help you maintain the homeostasis. The word cybernetic comes from a Greek word having to do with the helmsman in a sailboat, constantly adjusting the rudder to maintain that straight path, keep the sailboat on course. So the cybernetic is like constantly adjusting that rudder there to keep the ship on course. And every atom, every molecule, every cell, and every process of your life is cybernetic, to keep your life on course, as you create and maintain the conditions, as you continue to create your life, and as you continue to manifest the conditions to sustain your life and hopefully help your life to flourish. So we have this gift of freedom in every atom and molecule and cell of our life, to freedom to shepherd, freedom to guide the ship of our life through the swells and storms of the seas of time and space. So in the wisdom of ancient India, this intelligence, this cognizance, is what we would call God. This is an all-pervasive intelligence which allows everything to create itself and recreate itself in every breath, and is allows every organism to be what it is, and allows us as the vast and complex beings that we are to have the lucidity and cognizance that it takes to sustain and recreate our lives. So this is the divine within, this cognizance. And what we come to understand is this cognizance is all pervasive. It's a universal field of awareness that permeates the universe as an organism, and that lives within us as the cognizance within us, as the lucidity, as the self. Self is the term sages use for this self-organizing intelligence. So in this prayer, we understand that yourself is the only thing that's real, that everything else is changing. So the prayer is Om, which is the sound of the self, the sound of the prana, the life breath of a living universe. And it says from Asat, from non-being. Asat is being, A is not. From not being, lead me to being. From tamas, from that which perishes, jyotir, to the self-effulgence of the soul, lead me to that which is self-effulgent, that light which needs no other light, the light which is the source of its own light. Again, the only thing that's real is something that's not caused by anything else, the light of consciousness, which is not caused by anything else. So lead me from the unreal to the real, from darkness, from ignorance, to the self-effulgent light of the soul, from mṛtyor, from death, to the nectar of immortality, this moment, this treasure of consciousness is the nectar of amṛt, nectar of immortality. Om, peace, peace, supreme peace. So that is the mantra that we're learning this morning. Here we are at, this picture is a picture I took at Harikipari. This last year, the Kumbh Mela, the largest spiritual gathering in the world, was celebrated in India, and it's celebrated at 4 spots, 4 places on earth, Allahabad, and which has now been given a non-colonialist name, I guess. Prayag is celebrated at Prayag, and it's celebrated Haridwar, gateway. Haridwar means gateway to liberation. And these 4 spots on earth are in legendary times. There was a very famous struggle between the forces of light and the forces of darkness. And the forces of darkness had received a boon from the gods, and in the play of this mystery, I'm not sure what the metaphor means, but the gods had lost their immortality, which gave the forces of darkness the upper hand. And in this legend, the forces of light and the forces of darkness are struggling to churn the milky ocean of possibility to generate the amṛt, the nectar of immortality. And in this legend, 4 drops of the nectar of immortality are spilled onto the earth. And one of the drops is spilled here at Harikipari. And there's this little temple here on the right in your illustration, little tiny temple, barely 2 or 3 people can fit in there at a time. And that is where one of the drops of nectar of immortality touch the earth. And then and daily, thousands and thousands and thousands of us come there to venerate this spot and to pay homage at this spot and be touched by the grace of this sanctity of this place. In the 1975 Kumbh Mela, I was staying with a group of hippies on a little island in the center of the Ganges, Ganga, And I was, one of my companions insisted that we go and try to get to that temple at the auspicious moment. The astrologers say there is a moment where Jupiter aligns in Sagittarius in a way that if you are there at this spot, at that moment, you will achieve liberation this lifetime. Now, I didn't think we had a chance to get anywhere near the temple, but he insisted that we go and take our chances. And so there we were at this iron gate. There were policemen on horses, not allowing anyone through. And at the auspicious moment, they opened the gates and we were able to pour in there. And not only did we get the Hari Kipari at the auspicious moment, but we were able to spend the whole night under the temple chanting. Someone invited us there. There were a few people gathered under the temple somehow chanting, and we spent the whole night chanting the praises of this great and wondrous mystery of life. So our prayer, the mantra, and again, the mantras are formulas for liberation in Sanskrit, the language of the gods, where the sounds that we make creates the states of consciousness. So here we are invoking being, Sat, being, the self-effulgence of the soul, and generating the nectar of immortality through our contemplation. So let us straighten our spines and let us chant the Om Asatoma sadgamaya, tamasoma jyotirgamaya, mṛtyor amṛtaṃ gamaya. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Together, let's just slowly. Om Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mṛtyor amṛtaṃ gamaya. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Questions? So we're chanting this with Deva Prama.
Om Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mṛtyor ma amṛtaṃ gamaya. Om Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mṛtyor ma amṛtaṃ gamaya. Om Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mṛtyor ma amṛtaṃ gamaya. Om Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mṛtyor ma amṛtaṃ gamaya. Om Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mṛtyor ma amṛtaṃ gamaya. Om Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mṛtyor ma amṛtaṃ gamaya. Om Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mṛtyor ma amṛtaṃ gamaya. Om Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mṛtyor ma amṛtaṃ gamaya. Om Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mṛtyor ma amṛtaṃ gamaya.
Shanti, shanti.
Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mṛtyor ma amṛtaṃ gamaya. Asato ma sadgamaya.
Any questions about the Asatoma prayer? And any prayer is most powerfully done at the Sandhya, the point just before dawn or just before sunset. These are the points of power in the day, because again, everything is a life breath of a living universe, and everything is rajas and tamas, fire and water, and sattva, the still point, which self-corrects. So every level from atom to galaxy is a living, breathing movement in a singular universe. Universe means attuned to one coil. And the perfection of this intelligence has it every intersection of rajas and tamas, of expansion and contraction. There's the two waveforms of vibration cancel each other out and create a still point, which entrains and resonates with sattva guna, which entrains and resonates with being, which resonates with the all-pervasive field of the source, the all-pervasive field of awareness. So this still point, the most powerful time in the day, are sunrise and sunset, which entrain with the still point of the between the expansion of the light and the contraction of the dark, and the contraction of the light and the expansion of the dark. So sunrise and sunset are these still points, which are the places where we entrain with the source, we entrain with being, we entrain with sattva guna. So our prayers are most powerful at these points. And again, traditionally, solstice means to stand still. So the summer solstice recognized this still point and was a culmination of spiritual potency. And again, the winter solstice, again, to stand still, was another still point. And the two equinoxes were still points. And traditionally, we have every calendar celebrates these moments at points of power where your prayers are most efficacious. So between every breath, between every heartbeat, there is a still point. And again, between day and night, between summer and winter, between masculine and feminine, there is this still point that's touched by the intersection of rajas and tamas as the two hands of God, the two yang and yin intersect to touch the Tao, to touch sattva. So our prayers are most effective during this time. Well, my friends, that's our journey into mantra yoga today, and the possibility that the purpose of life is to live in reality, to be in constant communion with being, and not to be tossed around by the illusions of birth that are dying around us. and not clinging to that which is dying around us, or being misenchanted by that which appears to be so attractive and desirous around us, but to realize that we have within us the very source of all of this, and that we can choose in our life to cultivate a relationship to this source, and a peace and well-being and stability that come from within. Yes. So, lead us from the unreal to the real. Thank you so much for your focus and attention, and we will return to Dance with Grandfather Fire at 15 minutes before the hour. No questions? Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you so much.
Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Asato Ma Sat